recording. Hello, welcome to the podcast of terror, super spectacular Halloween spectacle edition from hell. I don't think the hell part was really necessary, but as always, this is a production of Galactic Netcasts. This is a show where Corey and I talk about things scary.
Oh, you just blew it. I was going to say that we're wearing costumes and I'm dressed up like Matt and you're dressed up like Corey.
See? Way to go. You blew it. You blew it like the dog you are.
That's true. I'm a blowing dog.
So I'm still in Weird World Weekly mode. And I can't call you. I stopped and I was like, I can't call him a piece of shit right now.
Yeah, I think you can, but should you?
Totally. Turns out I can call you a piece of shit now because we're on our show.
Yeah, we've been called out for being the dirtiest of dirty shows.
I forgot. I was in my intro. I was going to say voted the #1 dirtiest podcast on Galactic Netcast by Dave Nelson.
That's true. I don't think he's listened to the S word enough to really lay that claim, but that's all right.
Probably not, but that does mean we're now award winning. So suck it, fourth grade teacher who said I wouldn't amount to shit. I won an internet award from some guy who just said it.
That's true. And there was not any disagreement at all. So unanimous.
No, an actual discussion stemmed from this. It was on a recent episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. Masturbation was mentioned. And somehow, I don't know how, Corey and I came up, and then our show was called Disgusting.
I just think that means we're in Dave's bank.
JF's was talking about spanking it, so we might be in JF's spank bank, which I'm fine with. I'm just,
those French Canadians, they have class and taste,
and feverish masturbation problems.
Now we're masturbating in 2 languages.
Motherfucker. We can stop talking about JF's masturbation skills, I guess,
because they're legendary, and move along to talking about some news. All right, so news for the special Halloween edition. We wanted to find something that was at least akin to the holiday, and while it doesn't necessarily have to do with Halloween in particular, it is something that's going to be, I think, a wonderful place to go during this time of the year, and that is the hotel that was used for The Shining. They're trying to turn into a horror museum,
which is odd. I'll let you talk about the story, but there's a band that rents the whole hotel out and does a concert one time a year, and the thing sells out in like minutes.
Oh, I bet. I mean, it's kind of an amazing place. But so the Stanley Hotel, that's in Estes Park, Colorado, is probably best known for its inspirational role in Stephen King's bestseller Shining, and now may become a horror museum. It inspired the Overlook Hotel in the 1977 book, and recently announced its plans to include a horror-themed museum along with a film production studio and film archive in a new facility it hopes to open. According to the LA Times. Elijah Wood and Simon Pegg are among the founding board members of the new Stanley Film Center, which will call for an auditorium, museum, traveling film exhibits, a soundstage, and space for post-production editing. The hotel is seeking $11.5 million from the state's tourism funds to put towards the facility's $24 million price tag. And it's also banking on King's horror novel and the adaptation by Stanley Kubrick for its annual ghost tours and the horror film festival. The idea behind the new facility will make it a year-round horror destination, which sounds terrific.
Yeah, I had heard that they wanted to turn this into a museum. I had not looked anything up because I'm lazy. But as I did mention, a buddy of mine is actually going in January, I believe, him and his wife. The band Murder by Death get the whole hotel, and they do one show, and they play their show in the ballroom in which what's his name? Jack Nicholson?
Yeah.
orders the drink, and like you could pay extra money to be in the actual room where shit's supposed to go down. But it's like it sells out like that. He said he bought the tickets and then told his wife that they were going, and was a little nervous. But that would be really cool, in my opinion. Any of this stuff would be cool, but the problem is I got to go to Colorado.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a destination thing. It's you're touring around, you're going to haunted spots, and this is kind of like where you want to wind up. That makes sense. It's not like you're hanging around in Colorado the rest of the time, unless you go to Boulder to see where they film Mork and Mindy.
Shut up.
Okay.
I couldn't think. That was the nicest response I had to you talking about Mork and Mindy. Although I guess that's what I get. That's payback because I forced Corey to sit and wait while I purchased concert tickets before we started recording because they had gone on sale and I didn't want to miss out. So
And Matt doesn't know how to internet.
It's not that. It's that I apparently made a Ticketmaster account some odd years ago, and I don't remember the password. So I had to reset the password. I was frantically trying to purchase tickets. White people problems.
That is true. It is absolutely true. It's like trying to order your iPhone in the middle of the night, and you've got that 5-minute window of they're not sold out yet, and you're not sold out yet, and God damn it, where's my credit card? Yep. You got to be prepared for these things at all times.
You got to memorize your credit card number, people.
Yep.
Memorize your credit card number.
Or someone else's.
Doesn't matter whose. You just got to know the credit card number. We do not condone stealing someone's credit card number here at the Galactic Netcast.
We do not condone stealing our credit card numbers here at the Galactic Netcast. And Dave doesn't have a lot of cash, so.
But if you convert the cash that he does have to Canadian, he's probably rich.
That's true, and he's rich in friends.
He is.
So you can find out more about Dave and the rest of our group by going to gncast.com. You can search for us on iTunes and Stitcher as well. If you like what you hear, you can leave us a review. We like 5 stars or thumbs up. You can also get involved with our community by going to galacticnetcast.com and joining Galactic Collective. And there's a link there how to do that. You can tell your friends and family about us, or maybe just people on the street just randomly walk up and say, "Hey, Galactic Netcast," and they go, "Oh, well, I've been hearing about this everywhere on podcasts that talk about Ticketmaster." And then you can leave us feedback by emailing us at galacticnetcast@gmail.com, or you can call and leave us a voice message by calling 805-328-3966.
I just had a mental image of like a random person running up to me on the street and be like, "Podcast a terror, motherfucker," and running away. And I'm like, That's
true. And the worst part is it was a priest.
Well, at least a man dressed like a priest. We don't know if it was an actual priest.
Or wearing a priest's skin.
Or all of the above. Man, things get weird quick around here. I guess it's all that Halloween air.
It's holding back when we were doing World Weekly a few minutes ago.
That is true.
I was so afraid I was going to mess that up.
My murder boner was raging. Speaking of Halloween, we decided that for the Halloween Spooktacular Super Special, we should probably review the movie Halloween, because why not?
Yeah, and you've probably seen it. You might have heard of the little film. It's done okay for itself over the years. It certainly has a following. John Carpenter's masterpiece, not just the movie itself, but also his music. A lot of people don't realize how great a musical genius John Carpenter is, and I listen to a lot of his stuff when I sleep through a speaker underneath my pillow, and have horrifying dreams because of it. But that's kind of the joy.
Yeah, that's self-induced, man. I don't want to hear your bitching. It's what's funny to me is Halloween was like the first slasher movie. I googled it, and I got this shit right. Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Hellraiser all came out after. This came out in 1978. So, like, this is kind of the beginning of the slasher craze of the 80s. Not only that, but the Halloween theme song was sampled in a Tech Nine song. For anyone who listens to this podcast and listens to rap, which I'm guessing is maybe one person. But it's fun to see how the music and the idea can span cultures, I guess.
Yeah. Now, I do want to correct you, though, because we actually reviewed another movie that came before Halloween that is, it predates it. It's The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Yeah, but The Town That Dreaded Sundown, yes, was a slasher film, but it was not a slasher franchise.
No, absolutely not.
A
And
slasher pile of dog shit.
and the original, which I don't believe that you saw, I watched it for the review, was half slasher movie, half like an episode of Enos, the spinoff from the Dukes of Hazzard. It was just dumb bumpkin comedy. It was like an Ernest movie where then somebody goes through and slaughters people. Well, that would be the greatest Ernest movie of all time. Poor Jim Varney.
The first band I ever played in was a band called Pterodactyls, not spelt right, Terror, and everyone in that band really liked Gwar, and they were like 3 to 4 years older than me, so I did what I was told. But what we would do is we would name a song and then decide the genre of music and then write the song. Generally, just however we played it is how the song was written. But we had a song called Ernest Goes to Death, and it was like right after Jim Varney died.
Oh.
Yeah, it was hilarious because the whole point of that band was to rub people the wrong way.
That's true. And by the way, you've just now said rub people the wrong way and saying that you did what you were told. And I let both those comments slide. That's how much I love you.
We also threw cheeseburgers at the crowd during a show. Back to Halloween. I kind of have a weird crush on Jamie Lee Curtis, even though she was once a man.
I have had for a long time, probably at least in Stripes, been in almost everything I've seen her in. Huge crush on PJ Souls, who plays Linda Vander Klock in this. And I was age appropriate for Halloween, meaning I was about the same age as the little kids that they were babysitting in this when I saw it. So as little Tommy is freaking out about the boogeyman during this film, I completely freaked out seeing this in my grandparents' basement with my uncle and all of his friends. And this is one of the two movies that I remember scarring me the most as a child.
See, I don't remember how old I was when I first saw this. I was probably high school, but my childhood is ruined by Hellraiser and Seven.
Oh, yeah. I don't think the same way that your friends was ruined by Hellraiser with the dad that wore the outfit, but...
What?
When we did the Hellraiser episode... Do you not remember the episode?
Oh, I remember Travis was on it, but I don't...
Travis said that his dad had the Hellraiser whole costume, and he dressed up like him and freaked him out, came across the street.
Totally forgot about that.
I just gave you a throwback to an old episode of Podcast of Terror, which you can find on Stitcher or on iTunes. Please give us a 5-star or thumbs up rating.
I'm going to give you a sandwich board.
Mm.
Oh, you should get one of those the arrows and stand outside and spin it around and be like, Podcast Terror.
And then I could just run up and yell at people in a priest's skin.
Yes.
This is the classic movie. I have avoided watching Halloween probably for the most part since I saw it and was so scared of it as a little kid. But I've seen all the other ones throughout that time and have a huge appreciation for parts 4 and 5. And no appreciation for part 3, although my wife swears that movie is the best.
I have yet to meet your wife, but I think I don't like her anymore.
I read an article last week about how Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, should be given another chance by everybody who've just called it a piece of shit the whole time, because the expectation of it was that people wanted to see more of Michael Myers, and they didn't give them that, but they gave them what was, at least at the time, a pretty crazy film. But you're right. This movie started out the chains of the killer keeps coming back and the killer doesn't die. And I think that is something that it has over The Town That's Dreaded Sundown specifically, is that there's nothing inherently supernatural about the story, but there's several times that Michael should be dead in this and just isn't.
Yeah, and I mean, they lay the groundwork for it in the first one, where they're like, right away at the start, when Dr. Loomis is in the nurse are driving to actually pick him up right away, and I can't remember what specifically she says, but his response is he's not a man.
Yeah.
Like
Loomis is like totally tooled in on this guy. He's like, no, this guy is like, I tried to heal him for 70 years. And then for the next 8 years, I was like, no, you're just the fucking devil. I want you dead. And just try to keep him away from society. And there's extended scenes that are on the edited for television version that aren't in the regular version that kind of explain more about the stuff that happened with Loomis and how he tried to fight for that. It's more dialogue, and it felt, I guess, kind of padded to some, so it was the stuff to get edited out. But it does add a bit more sense to why he feels the way he does, because it's not hugely explained in this first one. It's something that builds up the more you go through the sequels.
I haven't seen. I mean, I've seen them all, but I haven't seen them all recently enough to really remember any of it. I was trying to recall how Rob Zombie did it in his movie, because he really, like, half of the Rob Zombie one is his childhood up until he goes crazy, and then the second half is kind of where the original is. But
yeah, and the Rob Zombie one, it seems like what happens to Michael as a little kid is much more of the fucked up, oh, it figures he's going to be a serial killer kind of thing. You know, the trashy mom and trashy sister and the trailer park living and all this stuff. Not that means that you're going to be a bad person, but just how bad his life actually is. It seems like it drives him towards killing them. Yeah. This isn't like that, because this is just, you see him kill his sister and then walk out wearing the mask out in the street, and then you find out that it's a little kid who did it. But it doesn't explain anything about why, and it doesn't show him in any way being creepy or evil other than that act. It's just like, here's something he did. He gets institutionalized for the next 15 years, and then he breaks out and he goes on a killing spree in the little town and finds his other sister, which I don't even think is explained in this, that she's related to him.
No, it's like probably not until 4. I don't think it's in 2.
Yeah, and 4 is when they explain the relationship with the niece, but I don't know if in 2 if Loomis is talking about why he's after her, because there's got to be a reason why he's targeting Jamie Lee Curtis and he's following her around the town and everything. But it's all of this is just kind of like, here's a guy who escaped from an institution and he's killing teenagers.
Which, you know, I wonder if they ever meant to, maybe they worked into the movie that Laurie is his sister.
Yeah, I mean, it's at that point in time it would be post Star Wars, but I don't know if it was post Empire, and that became a thing where we find that stuff out. Well, actually, we don't find that out until Jedi, so never mind. It's kind of a strange connection to Decilly make.
You're on the wrong podcast to be talking about that.
I know. I'm practicing for tomorrow.
Where to holy Jesus if you bring up Dr. Gas is out.
And then Michael jumps into the TARDIS. So what is this movie? It is just kind of like a straight up slasher horror film, but Carpenter doesn't seem to shy away from it. Whereas Craven shies away from Nightmare on Elm Street. He didn't do it with the hopes of doing any sequels, and he didn't come back until the very end. Carpenter seemed like right after this, like, oh yeah, let's do more.
Yeah, I wonder if I always curious of the mindset of the director and the writer and stuff, and the guys who leave and the guys who come back or don't come back. Like, why? What was your thought on that? Maybe Craven didn't think that Nightmare on Elm Street would amount to anything past the first one. Maybe. I don't know. John Carpenter may have had a concept, an idea for multiple movies from the get-go, so that's why he was kind of raring to do more. Did he do 3 too?
I don't think he directed the rest of them, but he had involvement in them, and he didn't seem to shy away from it in the way that Craven's like, no, this is it. It's just one and done. Since this was one of the earliest franchises, I mean, maybe that was just kind of a surprise. Maybe it was just, oh, we'd like to do another one. Sure, go ahead. I get a check. Thank you.
Yeah, no. John Carpenter produced 3.
Right. Yeah, because he got a completely different person who got just lambasted in Hollywood because of how bad 3 was received. She was like the it girl under Carpenter, and he tried to protect her and told her to follow her vision and everything, but she just got screwed out of it, out of the whole career from that.
I don't blame her. She doesn't deserve it. Yeah, he only directed the first one.
Yep.
So I wonder if he, yeah, well, whatever.
But Donald Pleasance kept showing up in these things until I think he passed away. When you see him in part 6, he's pretty frail. But this became like, that's what I know Donald Pleasance from, is the Halloween movies. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, only showed up in the first 2, then skipped over to number 7 with H2O, which is more like a Scream movie than a Halloween movie, and then did her cameo in the one after H2O. Was it Resurrection? And was just like, okay, I've done this enough. But this was not her first horror movie either. I think she was in something shortly before this that was kind of like, maybe it was Prom Night or something.
Couldn't tell you. The best I could do is look it up for you, but I don't know. I really, Halloween, like you said, it stands the test of time.
I was wrong. Prom Night came after. Yeah, it really does, and it's not so many deaths either. I always thought that there was a lot more killing in this, but the death scenes are very distinct and they stick with me. The scenes of him killing her friends, in particular the one where he killed Annie, played by Nancy Loomis, interestingly enough. That's the part that freaked me out as a kid, is when she gets into her car to go pick up her boyfriend and Michael starts strangling her from the back seat, and she's trying to honk the horn to get people's attention. No one's listening. And then he stops strangling her. Her head falls down and hits the horn, and it's just blaring. And I, as a little kid, see this, and I'm just terrified. I looked at my uncle and I'm like, is she dead? And he goes, no, she just won't be able to talk or sing for a while. And even more terrifying is when he's carrying her body, and Tommy is looking at it through the window across the street, and he keeps seeing the boogeyman. The boogeyman keeps showing up, and he sees him carrying Annie into the house that she's babysitting at. It's so stark. The part where he stabs Bob, he lifts Bob up basically one-handed in the kitchen, and then while he's choking him, stabs him with the knife straight through and sticks him to the wall. So you see Bob's feet dangling. Again, an incredibly brutal scene. And the part where he goes up in the ghost costume to semi-seduce Linda's character, it's just, yeah, it's messed up. It's all kinds of messed up. But I remember it being bloodier. I remember there being a higher body count, and maybe that's just years of being away from it and seeing so many films that are similar to it that have ripped it off.
Yeah, but at the time, I mean, nothing was really that bloody at that time.
No, and that's the thing, is it's implied gore and it's implied horror that made it, I think, more spectacular. It made it stick with you more. Whereas we've become desensitized to a lot of this stuff now. But I watched this movie last night, and like I said, it's always stuck with me a certain way. It still is kind of disturbing. My wife saw it on AMC earlier last week. I think they were playing the whole run of the movies, and she's like, yeah, I just watched it. I don't really know that I want to watch it again right now, because it's kind of a hard watch.
See, I didn't have that hard of a time with it. Maybe I'm an insensitive prick.
I like to think so.
It doesn't, but then again, you grew up, like, you were a little kid when this movie came out.
Yeah, and I remember Halloween being like Halloween is in this town, and there's not that kind of situation with the holiday anymore. Kids don't get to go out and trick or treat anymore. They go to the mall, or they just don't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, by the time I was a kid, all the movies that were coming, it was the start of being, everything needs to be gory, everything needs to be as bloody and disgusting as possible, and it kind of went from there. So I'm 100% desensitized to this. I don't even know how I feel about that right now.
I don't think that it's wrong. I think that for a while, like with Nightmare on Elm Street, we found that if you temper the horror with humor, it makes it a little bit more palatable. It can make it more of a mainstream movie. The truly terrifying stuff was then often rated outside of like, oh, we can't give that an R rating. We have to give that an X rating or whatever replaced X, NC-17. That became like, okay, well then you have to break it up with this, and you can't show this much blood, or you can't show this. That's too many stabbings. You hit 42. We can't go that far. You've got to bring it back to about 37 of them. That kind of thing changed it all.
Yeah, yeah. Which and I don't know if it ever really. And the thing is I don't know the struggle before the movie was released and it got what it got, and how the movie was supposed to look, and the vision of the director, and all that shit. But yeah, I guess I don't understand the fear of releasing an NC-17 movie. But now you have, the theatrical version, the unrated version, the extended unrated version with 57 more scenes, and it's almost like you see a version in the theater if you choose to go to the theater, and then you have to buy it or rent it to be able to see the other version. It's not, when this came out, this is the version. What was in the theater is what's on tape.
That's because they're afraid that in the theater, I think the worst thing to happen to this kind of film is the PG-13 rating system, because it went before, it was G, PG, R, and then X, and then when they put in PG-13, PG-13 was like, okay, we wanted to be mature enough for teens, but we don't want to hit that R rating because that limits our audience. And there's going to be all these 15, 17-year-olds that are going to want to go see this, and they're not going to be able to get in the theater. Like, no one's lied to the fucking theater before. So you have to hit this PG-13 rating to up sales. And it's like, well, then I have to take out what makes it a horror film, or I have to take out what makes it a mature story. And that ruined a lot of what people see. So when the unrateds come out, a lot of times unrateds are just like, here's some extra boobs. But
That's true.
That doesn't add anything to the tale. I think that there's the hardcore filmmakers who are just going to stick with that rating and say, well, we're just going to get what we get and lose some money for it, or they compromise and then they hope that they'll get it back in the DVDs, because everybody knows when it comes to your house, oh, I don't care what your kids are watching, just fucking throw the DVD and shut them up.
So I was looking because I was curious if this did get R or PG-13. Like that, this movie would be PG-13 now.
Yeah, I mean
except for boobs.
We have gone to a different place with horror, and we do have higher expectations now. Absolutely. But when Zombie came out with his, he went hard R.
Yeah, which leads me to Friday the 13th. The original Friday the 13th was rated X.
Yeah,
I did not know that. That movie I could see being R now, the blood and a lot of boobs, but I didn't get it being X. I was also not born yet, so I don't know. That's crazy to me, because I've never seen a rated X movie come out in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, and when you think of rated X, then you automatically think it's going to be adult films. You don't think it's stuff like this content, and that there wasn't the same stigma. It's something that became more known for it when you see X-rated theaters. Then it was always the adult theaters, and it was always, Debbie Does Dallas or something along those lines, Beyond the Green Door. And then they went to triple X to make it really seedy, because it's not just a little extreme, it's super extreme. But it's rare that you'd see. That's the thing, is nobody wants to make the movies that are NC-17 or rated X. They want to make something that's at least going to be able to hit a theater system. Somebody's going to play it. You don't go to your local Cinemaplex and they're playing an NC-17 movie.
Well, it's about money now,
Yeah.
Halloween 5 was rated X.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Came out in 1989. That's the one about the niece. At least
it's the second one about the niece.
Oh, there was two. Okay. 4 and 5 I have not seen a lot.
Yeah, Danielle Harris, who played the niece in 4 and 5, wound up playing the part of Annie in the Rob Zombie Halloween movies.
I did not know that. She is very attractive, though.
And she's a very good actress, and she's done a lot of horror stuff. She's also in the Hatchet movies. So she's embraced the genre. some people say that she is the last of the real Scream Queens. I'm hoping that's not the case because I'd like to see that continue. But she is certainly, I would put her up on the list, high on the list.
There's, that's a conversation for another day. I'm going 5 out of 5 dead hookers.
Yeah, you can't deny it. Halloween, man, the launched a genre, launched a series, and I've always enjoyed the mythology of Michael up until number 6. Number 6 was really bad, even with Paul Rudd in it. I've enjoyed the mythology of Michael Myers more than I've enjoyed that of Jason. I just think that there's something darker and creepier, and maybe it's the family connection to it, whereas Jason's just like, hey, you're at camp, stab. Oh, you're having sex, stab.
Yeah, there's more to Michael Myers. Friday the 13th I've always really liked, but it's kind of a classic. So it has a special place in my heart.
I will say Jason's mask being the hockey mask, which takes a while to get to, maybe a little more iconic than the featureless William Shatner mask. But there's something compelling to both. The featureless mask reminds me of we watched the creepypasta shorts, and there was the expressionless, and that's kind of what this is. When you see Michael walking around with that mask, you just imagine that he has no expression on his face underneath as well. It's a blank face because he doesn't care what he's doing.
Yeah, it helps play into the fact that he's not human. He has no emotion. He doesn't care, like you said. So,
yeah,
all part of the stigma, I think. Is that right? The allure, the illusion. I don't know. I'm not a fucking scientist. I think
Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about murdering people.
That's next week. It's next week. We're gonna wrap it up for the Halloween Spectacular Super Special Edition of the Podcast of Terror.
Now you say it's Halloween. I'm still aiming to get it up by Devil's Night, which I don't even know if you understand what Devil's Night is.
Maybe.
It's a Detroit thing. It's strictly a Detroit thing. I did not realize that when I was growing up. The night before Halloween was always known as Devil's Night. It was always a night people go out and just cause destruction and chaos and terror, which it became every night in Detroit eventually. But that was how I was raised, and to not see it in the rest of the world makes me really wonder what my parents were thinking letting me grow up there.
Yeah, I was not aware of that.
If you watch The Crow with Brandon Lee, the whole opening scene where he gets killed happens on Devil's Night, and they call it that, I believe.
That is a good movie, a very good movie. Also a conversation for a different day, but yeah, it's Halloween. Show's over. Go enjoy Halloween.
Yeah,
go
eat some candy.
Drink a beer, eat candy, do something crazy, but
something NC-17 rated.
Yes, get that X rating for that ass. Thank you again for listening, and we'll be back to our normal Tuesdays, assuming Corey and I can record by Tuesday and I can get it produced by Tuesday.
That's a lot of Tuesdays.
That's a lot of Tuesdays.
Oh, man. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one. All right. I'm so bad at ending these things.
Well, you do keep it weird on Real Weekly, so you just gotta think of something to do for this. You can say "Stay scary." I think I did that once.
Yes. Get high. Hey.
High with I've thought about calling, if we ever get a fan base, calling our fan base Potheads.
Probably a bad idea
for the POT.
Someone will not like that.
I know. That's why I wanted to do it.
I'm gonna start downloading Feast right away. I'm also downloading Nosferatu. I'll put it in Plex as well.
The original one?
Yeah.
Nice.
22.
Oh, that's right, because of the beer.
Yeah, Matt got the beer today.
Ooh.
So we will. He asked for the pod. Like he messaged me at like 6:30. and asked for the podcast link and stuff. Send me links to all the stuff, podcast, etc. Just got the beer. I'm going to wait to drink it till we podcast. So, yeah. So, I just sent him the page and told him we were recording one if he was bored and wanted to watch. And then I asked him what he wants to do for an intro, because